Tonight, 7:30 can reveal explosive new cases of Australian companies involved in suspected foreign corruption and bribery. The allegations extend as high as the presidents of Sri Lanka and the Republic of Congo. Already this year, we've heard allegations that the gaming giant Tabcorp and the offshore arm of Leighton Holdings paid bribes to relatives and intermediaries connected to foreign politicians. The Turnbull government's beefed up the federal police's anti-corruption teams and flagged new laws to allow companies to avoid prosecution if they admit corruption and aid police. But even so, there are questions about whether that's enough. Nick McKenzie has this special investigation.
In July 2006, two men working for the ASX-listed Australian mining company Sundance Resources travelled to the capital of the Republic of Congo on a secret mission. At stake was access to billions of dollars worth of Congo's iron ore. To clinch the deal, they had to impress the country's most important man, President Denis Sassou Nguesso and his family. Nguesso is a despot who has ruled for 3 decades, a time in which he and members of his family have faced corruption allegations. In a confidential report obtained by 7:30, the men describe a clandestine meeting at a luxury villa.
We met with Rodrigue Nguesso and Denis Sassou Nguesso, both nephew and son of the head of state.
The meeting went well, but it was a risky venture. The agents put an offer on the table for members of Nguesso's family, an offer that may well have put the company in breach of Australia's bribery laws. The Australian Federal Police warned companies against such practices.
The AFP, and certainly myself, I don't accept it's a need of doing business, and I don't accept that it provides an opportunity for Australian companies. It's just not on. We shouldn't be doing it.
The Sundance agents' report obtained by 7:30 reveals the agents offered President Nguesso's son and nephew shares in a Sundance-controlled Congo mining company. But the president's son demanded a bigger stake.
Denis Sassou Nguesso was delighted by the project, but clearly had a problem with the shareholder standing that was proposed to the Congolese side in this deal.
It's just public knowledge and well known, both in the business community and the political community, that corruption is a huge problem, going right up to the top of the government. So they must have been well aware of the corruption risks.
The Sundance documents show that in 2006 and 7, senior Sundance figures in Australia and Africa brokered share deals benefiting the president's son and nephew to the tune of millions of dollars.
The Congo Party will be issued 15 million SDL shares upon grant of exclusive permits over the exploration areas to Congo Iron.
In August 2007, President Nguesso signed off on exclusive mining permits for Sundance.
It would suggest that the company is relying upon a payment which is not legitimately due in order to influence a public official in the course of their duties. Now, if that is what is proved, well, that would clearly amount to a criminal offence of foreign bribery under Australian law.
Well, we've received information in relation to Sundance, and we're doing an evaluation in relation to that information. So Nick, I'm pretty restricted in what I can say. But you know, like anything, like all the investigations I've spoken about, the AFP takes these allegations very seriously.
It was 7:30 who told the AFP in June this year about evidence suggesting that Sundance may have bribed the Congo's president by giving some of his family members shares. 10 years after that share deal, Sundance is still seeking finance, hoping to build its Congo mine. In response to these claims, the company told 7:30 today it was launching an independent inquiry. Activists are demanding answers.
Most people in Congo would say that there is no rule of law and there is impunity, including for corrupt behaviour.
Sarah Wicks started investigating Denis Nguesso Jr.'s offshore spending habits in 2005.
There is actually an open investigation alleging that the President and his family had benefited from misappropriating a large part of the country's oil revenues.
Her report was publicly available when Sundance wanted the president's backing for its mine project. A problem for the Australian government is that Sundance may not be the only company with the staff who may have agreed to pay bribes. 730 has uncovered more evidence implicating another firm and another country's president. The Snowy Mountain hydroelectric scheme is an Australian engineering wonder.
This scheme goes to the two vital needs of Australia.
The company that built it, Snowy Mountain Engineering Company, also known as SMEC, is now privatised and has grown into a major international engineering firm. In 2008, SMEC sought to win part of a large dam project in Sri Lanka, funded by the World Bank.
Well, Sri Lanka, I think, has always had a reputation for what might be described as petty corruption, but the real risks, the most serious risks, are corruption at a top bureaucratic level, where monies are paid by companies, and often overseas companies, to secure very valuable contracts.
Again, there was one person's support needed to make it happen: the Minister for Agriculture, Mathripala Sirisena, who is now Sri Lanka's president. 2009 emails between SMEC staff leaked to 730 suggest Sirisena requested a private meeting with the company.
He's the secretary of the ruling party, a powerful man in the present administration.
The SMEC manager said that the powerful man wanted a favour.
The minister wants to know whether SMEC could make a donation for the elections.
The SMEC email suggested Sirisena and one of his advisors wanted the Australian company to bankroll Sirisena's ruling Freedom Party before signing the cabinet papers for the World Bank-funded dam project.
Sirisena's coordinating secretary said this is the way it goes prior to signing the cabinet papers. He wants us to propose an amount or percentage on the contract value.
The president did not respond to questions from 730, including whether he was aware of or authorised such a request.
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious that if an Australian company goes into a foreign jurisdiction and there's a suggestion made that they could make a political donation when they're on the lookout for a very valuable contract, well, anyone would know that that's most likely to be corruption at that very high level.
SMEC's email showed that the company's Sri Lankan manager agreed to pay a kickback of $27,000 to secure the dam contract. SMEC says its internal investigation uncovered a request for a political donation, but that no donation was made. Company records show that $27,000 was withdrawn in cash by SMEC's Sri Lankan office and paid to a consultant. The Australian Federal Police is evaluating emails about SMEC and the Sri Lankan president. Separately, the AFP has launched a major investigation into allegations that SMEC's overseas staff paid bribes to secure a second Sri Lankan contract, as well as a contract in Bangladesh. For the Australian Federal Police, suspected foreign bribery is tough to investigate and even harder to prosecute. But after repeated scandals and an extra $15 million from the federal government, the AFP says it's ramping up inquiries and pushing companies to dob themselves in before they get caught.
For any company to think that this is just the cost of doing business, then they are going to, in due course, face the full effect of the law, because it's not legitimate. There's the companies themselves and their CEOs. They both have a legal responsibility, but they have a moral and ethical responsibility here to show some integrity in their business processes.
Around 20 Australian companies, including some household names, are the subject of current AFP investigations, one which has been going for 7 years.
When you recognise that some people may not have access to proper healthcare and they might not have access to proper education and they may miss out on opportunities that you and I take for granted, then I think we should be passionate about these issues. And if there's an Australian entity involved in that occurring, then we should pursue it to the nth degree in relation to the legislation, but also we've got a moral obligation here.
That report by Nick McKenzie.